Hello, I'm Zane Olson, director of Bane Rises, and I'm going to be doing a behind the scenes to show you guys all the little things that we did that made this project possible. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the equipment we actually used to shoot the film. Now this is my tripod and rig system. We got a mat box here, a homemade grip, and the plate for the camera. The first thing you probably noticed is that our tripod is independent leg tripod, meaning that we can move our legs independently of each other leg. This gives us the ability to have some really interesting and dynamic camera shots, which I'll go into greater detail later. Now the second thing I want to talk about are the weapons. In Canada, where we live, each airsoft gun is sold as a clear plastic replica. So the first thing we have to do is grab a can of black spray paint and spray them down. That's also the reason that we didn't film any weapons in the first part of the fan film, is because we were in the middle of downtown Calgary here, and we didn't want to be brandishing weapons, even though we were filming on Christmas Day, so it was completely abandoned. There was no one there, but we didn't want to take that chance anyway. The only weapon here that wasn't painted was this one right here, which I actually bought in Montana and was already painted black. So with the exception of that one, the FAMAS and this M4 here were both painted black to be more realistic replicas. And they hold up pretty good on camera. If you get a little bit closer, some of the detail starts to break down a little bit, especially on this one. But that wasn't too big of a problem since we were moving them around a lot and we could paint them out in post. So I think the most requested thing in the comments was, how did we make the mask? Now, the mask is a little bit broken down right now, because I made it really quickly out of hot glue and tape mostly, but we're in the process of making it more robust for a possible sequel. So I'll go into more of that later. But as for the mask here, let me just try and get focus here. It's very crudely painted and very crudely put together, but because we shot the whole movie underexposed, it holds up really well. I'll show you what that looks like. So if I bring when I start bringing the ISO down here, the exposure, you can see that it starts to get a little bit more flat. And now because we were shooting outside, these metal sections here would get extremely blown out, and that would give us the really fine metal look that we wanted to get, as in the trailer or in the prologue that was shown in December. Now the rest of the mask is made with an old airsoft mask. You can this is actually painted, or this is duct tape back here to protect our actor's mouth, because these tubes are just plastic tubes that were put on with staples originally. They're hot glued now, but some of them had staples. I'm sure some of them still, yeah. As you can see down here, some of them are held in with some staples. So that was just to protect his mouth from getting all cut up. In the back here, because I wanted the full look to go all the way around, I cut off part of the airsoft mask that I cut off the top here and used it in the back. But we never actually showed the back because he was wearing a hood, because we didn't have enough time or budget, frankly, to do a good looking bald cap. We could have thrown one together, or I could have persuaded my brother, the actor who played Bane, to shave his head, but I don't think he would have gone for that. The second piece here is the strap that goes over the top. We had a very big problem with this, because originally when I made this duct tape here, by the way, it was extremely silvery looking, and I didn't like that so much, so I spray painted it. And anyone who's tried to spray paint duct tape, especially with spray paint made for plastics, I bought it for the airsoft guns, so it'd bond better to the plastic. They know that spray paint doesn't really stick to duct tape that well. Even right now, this is the middle of, or just about the middle of March. So we shot the first sequence on Christmas Day, then we shot the rest the following weekend. As you can see, it still rubs off a little bit. So that got in our actor's hair. So, and these pieces here are actually weights from an old airsoft pistol magazine that no longer worked. So I took the magazine apart, took these weights out, which were perfect for up here. Up this part right here that's holding the metal bits in is part of a marker. So this would be the bottom part of the marker, and this was the top part of the marker cap. So these two halves went together to make a marker cap. And I believe that this one was purple originally, and this one was like bright green. This tubing, as I said before, is simply plastic tubing, and everything's held together more or less by duct tape. The little bits down here, which also I spray painted and then scratched off in a ring with a key to get the brassy look back, so that it would reflect light in some of the shots. These are just some nuts that I found in my garage. This is actually the second iteration of the Bane mask. The first one I made back in August, when some of the first leaked pictures of Bane in costume when they were shooting in Pittsburgh were released. And some of the official pictures too, the one where his back is turned. And I made that, and I thought it was pretty good. But then I found this airsoft mask in my basement, and this has a little bit more of that that refined look, a little bit more streamlined. The other one was a little bit more boxy. So I put this one together at my brother's request, and just cannibalized all these old parts that were on the other one onto this one. And then, yeah, this is what you get. Now, as you can see, the mask itself looks really bad on close inspection. I mean, the paint doesn't look very good, but the goal was more to get the shape, because I always wanted to show Bane almost as if he was always covered by a shadow. Like, as I said before, keeping everything underexposed. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the Bane mask. We're going to be doing... Oh yeah, and there's an old Canon lens cap on the back holding these two pieces together. Hot glue doesn't hold that well in... I don't know if it's just because we have a very dry climate, or... I don't know what it is, but on the set, everything kept falling apart. And we had this safety kit, this car safety kit I got for Christmas. Actually, I got it that morning. I got this car safety kit because we shot on Christmas afternoon, and we used the duct tape from that survival kit. So I was lucky I got it, otherwise we would have had to turn back and go home and get something, then go back out, which would have added an hour to our day. And we were racing against the sun at the end of that day anyway. So there wasn't such a drastic change. So that's basically it for the mask. So what I have right here is the most essential part to my filmmaking day, and that is a shot list. Now, because I write my own stuff, I think I've written every single video on the Ion Films production page here on YouTube, with maybe the exception of 2 or 3. I've gotten very used to the way I write and the way that I write dialogue. Now, a lot of people say that I write dialogue really cheesily, and that's true, because I like it that way. And that sounds really weird, but if you have dialogue that sounds like it was spoken in everyday life, it can come across as really, really drab and very, very drawn out and boring. So I try and make it as snappy and as low-key as possible to get kind of that movie feel. And sometimes I overshoot it and go, instead of maybe a Christopher Nolan movie feel, I go straight to, like, I don't know, like a 1970s sort of action movie style, which is okay with me, because we do a lot of improvisation on set and we do a lot of changes. So, but the reason that the shot list is the most important thing to me is because I've pretty much memorized the script all the way through, but I usually spend 3 or 4 days alone on the shot list to make sure that I have things that I know I'm going to want to film, like establishing shots. I always forgot to shoot establishing shots until I got these. The program I use to write these is called Celtex. I'm going to put a link for it in the description. It's free. You can make scripts, shooting lists, catalogs for things, prop lists, wardrobe lists, and I made all of these because I knew we were shooting over Christmas break. I knew we weren't going to have that many people to film with. Especially since we were recycling weapons, we have to be very efficient with the way we shot. We had some of in the second scene where we got the 2 mercenaries and Bane firing at Austin's character with the prisoner. He has the FAMAS, but his partner, my brother, who actually plays Bane, who gets shot right at the beginning, was holding one of the guns that the mercenaries use. And we did a lot of this trading back and forth. So it got very complicated. But Celtex made it a lot easier, so I can make a lot of different lists. But this one is by far the most important.